And there, halacha hey, the Mishnah has Tormin Shemen al Zeisim Anichboshim. Do you see that in halacha hey in the Mishnah? It's about a third of the way through the Mishnah. Tormin Shemen al Zeisim Anichboshim. Okay? Tormin Shemen al Zeisim Anichboshim. One can take oil, truma from oil on olives which are in the press, because it's as if they're already squeezed. Now, the more complex issue here is that you can take truma from wine on grapes which are about to become raisins, even though they're not yet raisins. Now, the Gemara is going to deal with this. This seems to be difficult because it's not nigmara malachto. They're not complete. We have a principle. You can take truma for something which is nigmara malachto al davish nigmara malachto, something which is complete and something which is complete. But it seems that these are not fully processed yet because they're not yet raisins. They're just about to become raisins, right? So it says Mishnah. Further the Mishnah. What happens if you took truma from oil on olives which are about to be eaten, and from and zeisim on olives made for eating, meaning both were gemar malacha. In other words, the oil is complete, and the zeisim are zeisim which you intended to eat, not to make olives, or not to make oil from. So in that case, that's okay. Even though one is oil and one is olives, they're the same meaning. They're both nikmara malachto at this stage. And of course, that's certainly true if you're taking from olives on olives. And later on, you changed your mind. Well, not yet. You took from grapes on wine. I'm sorry, the opposite. From wine on grapes which you're about to eat. Right? Again, both in nikmara malachto. And of course, on anovim, from anovim al anovim, for grapes on grapes which you're about to eat. And then you change your mind, decided to press them. Change your mind, decided to press them, so they're not nikmara malachto. So retroactively, does it cancel your truma? Of course not. Says Mishnah, ain't tzarich litruma, you don't have to take truma over again. Okay, because the time that you took the truma, each commodity was fully at its end product according to your das at that time. Okay, let's see the Gemara now. Tapach chesam now. I think it's the second line. Tnina. See that Tnina? Tnina, we learned Tnina the Basa. We learned it in the last mission of the parak, which we haven't yet seen. Anytime you're not allowed to take truma of something which was already completely processed, and which is not completely processed. There it says you're not allowed to do it, at least not l'chatchila. Yet here it says even l'chatchila you can take from grapes on raisins. What's going on? From grapes, on grapes which are from wine, on grapes which are about to become raisins. They're not yet raisins. They're not nigmar malachto, right? So it says more in tema davish nigmar malachto, and maybe you'll say that grapes which are about to become raisins are already considered to be nigmar malachto at this stage. You can't say that, but then we learn in Mishnah hapered. Pered means pomegranates which are going to dry, and timukim, and raisins which are drying, v'charuvin, and carobs, mishamina rema, they're only considered to be suitable to take trumas and maasros off once they are piled up, after they're completely processed. So we see that when are they considered to be completely processed? Only after they become raisins. So I can take truma from wine on grapes which are about to become raisins. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi ben Yossi, B'sher Reitzah ben Elazar says, Ein l'cha osir midavar shnigmar malachto, al davar shnigmar lo nigmar malachto, el goren v'yekem bilvad. He comes up with this v'chidish, which since it's all the Rabbana, we can say chidushim as we please in this case. He says that the only time, in terms of this issue of not taking truma off before it's completed, we only say that is a problem where it's going to become wine. Yekef. It's going to become wine later on. So then I say, if you have grapes which are going to become wine, they're not considered nigmar malachto until they become wine. But grapes which are become raisins, Chazal never made the gzeira in that case. In other words, grapes, raisins are all the same vis-a-vis when you can begin taking truma off of them. So therefore you can take truma from grapes off grapes that are going to become raisins. Why? Because according to this chiddush here, the only time I consider it not nigmar malachto vis-a-vis our specific halacha is when it's going to become wine later on. When it's going to become raisins later on, since it's not a substantial change in the way they look. So therefore, it's considered to be nigmar malachto, vis-a-vis our halacha, and take truma from grapes or wine of grapes which are going to become raisins even before they're raisins. Okay? And then you have a problem. That would be a problem. Right. I don't know if they made raisin wine in the old days, unless they really had to. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think even in Russia, the reason why they made raisin wine is because they couldn't get fresh grapes. Yeah. Okay? Lefi ma'u torim. Based on what you take truma, you're taking truma from olive oil off on the olives. How do you reckon the truma? Vishamnom, based on the oil content, or based on the flesh of the olives. Rabbi Yochanan, I see some mida chalfoi. I see some mida chilfoi. Let's start out from that which Chilfa said. I have the words the tiny Chilfa. I don't think you have them, do you? The Rabbi Yoimer lefi Shimnon. Chilfa brought down this brisa. What's this brisa? Rabbi says it goes based on the oil content. Shem Gamliel Omer lefi Ochlon. So it's a machlokas. When you take from oil on olives, you take based on the relative oil content or the relative flesh. Okay? So I go by, how much, let's say a pound of olives can produce half a pound of oil. So when I take from the oil, do I take corresponding truma to a half a pound, which would be the oil production, or I take it corresponding to a full pound, which is the ochlon, and that's the machlokas here. Okay? Avalua garineh. But we don't take into account the seeds, the pits. That we don't take into account. V'akom modim, and everybody agrees, b'kalbusim, that we're talking about very big olives. In other words, you're taking with olive oil on very large olives, sheitam lefi ochlon. That you have to go by the amount of flesh which they have, because they have a very, very substantial amount of flesh. It's much more than a regular olive. So therefore you have to take the amount of flesh into account. But even though you're there, you don't have to take the pits into account. Okay? Rabbi China Rabbi China stated, it's not a question, it's a statement, Shabbos came. This is true also by Shabbos. What does that mean? Ashkech Tani, we found the brayso which says, Rabbi Yoimer b'Revius. What's the shiur of Hotzah, which is prohibited with olives on Shabbos? What size olive are you not allowed to take out? So Rabbi says the amount of olives which will produce 3.3 ounces of oil. Right? So the shiur is based on not the olive itself, but rather on the production. Right? Rabban Shimon Krogeres, the size of a large date, which is about an olive and a half or something like that. So in any event, that's about half the shiur. Since an olive is 1.1 ounces and a revius is 3.3 ounces, so a large date is certainly no more than half the shiur of a revius. So he's going not by the oil content, but rather by the actual food stuff. Same machlokes we have here. If you look at the oil content, at the flesh of the olive. Okay? All right, I have a header here. I don't know if you have this header. Aresha Tarm Shemin Al Zaysim. No header. Rabbi Chanina. You have that. Rabbi Chanina b'Shem Rabbi Hillel. Avanana Mitzina, we also learned the Messiah, that this Mishnah is a proof to the heart of the Tani Rabbi Yeshua, that which Rabbi Yeshua said in the Brisa. Zaysim al Zaysim. You want to take truma from olives on other olives, Wasila Kotshon, but the olives upon which you want to take the truma are olives which you're eventually going to press. That's a no-no. Because right now they're not nigmar malachta. Similarly, anovi v'osila darim taking from grapes on grapes which are eventually going to press. So it's a no-no. Therefore, truma v'yachsav yitrum. That's the fine we had. It's truma, but you got to take truma over again. Not good. Utzinon. Yet we learned in our Mishnah. Not a Mishnah. We learned the Brisa. Mishatarim shemen. Oh yeah, it's our Mishnah. Yet we learned in our Mishnah, Nishataram Shemen Al Zaysim La'achila, somebody who takes truma from oil on olives, which are intended to eat as is. V'Zaysim Al Zaysim La'achila, and it goes down saying olives on olives which are intended to eat as is, and yain al Novim La'achila, and wine on grapes to eat, which are intended as is. V'anovim, certainly grapes, al ganovim la'achila, on grapes to eat. V'nim lach, and then you change your mind. V'ledorcha, and are going to press them. And it's our glass of lishon. We don't take truma over again. Why not? Hi, you change your mind, going to press them. So there's more. The answer is because you change your mind. But if you did not change your mind, in other words, it was originally intended to go forward and make wine or olive oil, so then Truma Yachsi Trum, then we sock it to you, and you get fined, and you have to give Truma twice. Okay? Let's go back to the Mishnah. Yeah, basically review. That's all. Okay, we want to mention the Brisa, which we didn't, which says that it's only if you highlight. It's only if you change your mind, not if you originally intended to continue through with the process. Okay. The final part of the Mishnah. One is not allowed to take truma. This is my Mishnah we've been quoting all Barak and never actually brought down explicitly yet. One is not allowed to take truma something which is not complete, and which is complete, on something which is not yet complete. Now vice versa, now something which is not complete, something which is complete. And not from something which is not completely processed. Something else which is not completely processed. Vim tarmu trumas on truma. If you did take truma, then it is valid truma. Now this is only true by other fruits, not by olives and by grapes. What? Yes, by olives and grapes. He had then Mishnah Daled, right? Very good, very good. Olives and grapes specifically, either because you're causing because of Gezel HaShevet, or because of Geder Mechatos, right? Because you're causing them to have to work harder, the Kohanim, or because you're going to do it B'tumah, and that's going to cause all sorts of, forgetfulness about the issues of Tumah and Tara, but that's only by olive oils and grapes. And there they made you, if you did it, you have to take a Truma over again. But by any other fruits, if you did it, B'di'evet, it works. That's what our Mishnah is saying. Okay? That here it works at least B'di'evet. Should make a note of that. Okay? Rabbi Yami. Going back to the Gemara. Rabbi Yami Shimon Lakish. You have that? Rabbi Yami said name Rabbi Shimon Lakish. Ksiv, it says v'nechshav lachem trumaschem. Your truma. Now this is all asmachtas. The whole Gemara we're going to learn now is asmachtas. Go into Rabbanan. But these are all going to be asmachtas. See if it says v'nechshav lachem trumaschem, your truma will be considered kedogan mina goyren, like grain from the granary, mimashu mitzavis b'nei Levi litrom mina gomer. From this we see, this is talking about Trumas Meiser, and a Levite is told here to take Trumas Meiser for that which is completely finished. In other words, it's already in the silo. All processing is finished, right? I shouldn't say it's in the silo. Dogon means it's processed. Dogon means processed, completed wheat. You have wheat kernels, the way they're supposed to be completed, they've been threshed and winnowed, and all the processes have been done to them. Okay? That teaches us one is not permitted to give Trumas Meiser to a Kohen when it's still in the stalks. You have to give it already after it's been set aside as Meiser. Said, Meiser Rishon Sheikdimo b'Shibolin. Let's say a Levi got Meiser Rishon improperly before Truma was taken off. In other words, the Yisrael gave him his Meiser Rishon before the Truma was taken off to begin with, and Truma was supposed to be taken off before Meiser Rishon. Also, Lechum Mimenu Arai. You know what? You're not allowed to eat from it extemporaneously unless you take off Trumas Meiser. Normally, you're allowed to eat Trumas. You're allowed to eat your Meiser or Levi before you take off Trumas Meiser. Arai. If it's Achis Arai, it's a snack. But you're not allowed to snack. No snacking. You can't eat snack until you take off Trumas Meiser. Matam, what's the pasuk which teaches this? So Ksiv, it says, "There's Kochei b'nei Yisrael los chalu v'los samusu." Do not desecrate the Kochei b'nei Yisrael, and you shall not die. This is a very strange derivation. It's only an asmachta. Because the truth is, it makes no difference. So if you can snack, you can snack. If you can't snack, you can't snack. And the truth is that it makes it, as long as anything is in a stage where it stalks, you can snack it. Even if it's a Trumas Meiser, which was taken off before the Truma was taken off. It makes no difference, Midaraisa. Mirabona makes a difference. They said, you know what? In order to encourage you to kind of not engage in taking Meiser before the Truma is taken off for the Kohen, so we find you a shtickle fine. And we say you're not allowed to snack after you're not allowed to snack this meiser which the Yisrael gave you unless you take up Trumas meiser first. We based it on a pasuk. We gave an asmachta. We said v'lo tchalush kodesh b'nei Yisrael v'lo samusu, meaning there's been a defilement here. Something's gone awry. You begot the meiser before you were supposed to. So therefore, don't be mechal it further by snacking on it. Again, it's not a limud. There's no drasha here. It doesn't follow from the pasuk at all. It's kind of like a mnemonic device to recall, this is a little bit of chilul. I should make sure not to be mechal further by snacking on it before the Trumas Meiser is taken off. And of course, the Gemara goes on to say it's not the Raisa. When a Zori eats true, when a Zori eats truma, that's what it's referring to. Or Levi eats actual truma. Okay? Maushi yilchu al tivlo di dvar Torah. Do you get malchus on this tevel d'oraisa take? In other words, if a Levi snacks on the stalks which he got, does he get malchus d'oraisa? Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Yonah Masniso Amara says that the Brisa says explicitly the ein loikin b'chule. They don't get malchus. Do you have that line? The ein loikin? You just ein loikin al tivlo you have? You do? Let's go back a line. Rabbi Shimon b'shem Rabbi Yonah says Masniso Amra Dein Lokin Amra Kain. Oh, Ein Lokin. Okay, so I have the Ein Lokin B'chule. To see them on where we have such a brisa, we learned over there. Is it a brisa or a mishnah? It's a mishnah. Mishnah Bikurim. Trumas Meiser Shavel my Bikurim B'shnei Drachim or Trumas Shnei Drachim. Trumas Meiser is akin to Bikurim in two areas and the Truma 2 areas. Now this is a strange kind of mishnah because it compares apples and oranges, meaning the rices and the rabbanans, as you'll see in a minute. What are the comparisons? Nitelis mina Torah la tome. Trumas meiser can be taken on from tar on tome. In other words, you can take. Unlike we're going to learn about this extensively in the next parak, but trumas meiser can be taken from tar grain on tome grain. V'shlomin hamukaf, and also the Trumas Meiser does not have to be in the same location as the Meiser. Whereas the Meiser A could be Tomei, and the Trumas Meiser be Tar.
B, they don't have to be in the same location, physically together, in order to take Trumas Meiser off of Meiser. They can be separate. That's like Bikurim. Bikurim you can take from Tar on Tomei, and you can take doesn't have to be in the same location as the rest of your crop. The stuff you take is Bikurim. Okay?
Voseris is Hagorin. How is Trumas Meiser like?
Trumas Meiser doesn't have to be in the same.
Right, but Truma and Meiser have to be Mina Mukov. Right. Truma Meiser have to be Mina Mukov, not Trumas Meiser. Right. Voseris is Hagorin v'yesh shiur k'truma. And the other hand, Trumas Meiser makes the rest of the crop also. The rest of the meiser is also until you take off Trumas Meiser, unless you're snacking, right? But it makes the rest of the crop also. Unlike Bikurim, because the matter is that we don't take off any Bikurim. Yet the crop is mutter, right? So Trumas Meiser, that not having taken off Trumas Meiser makes the Meiser also, as opposed to Bikurim, which does not make the rest of the crop also. In that respect, it's like Truma. And also Yesh lo shiur k'Truma. Trumas Meiser has a shiur, which is a tenth, just like Truma has a shiur. Of course, Truma does not have a shiur d'oraisa. Truma shiur is only the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan 1/50th, 1/60th, 1/40th, depending on how magnanimous or how stingy you are. But it says Gemara, based on this brisa, it's a question. When does Truma make the grain forbidden? In other words, when may you not snack from the grain unless you take off Truma? Only after the entire process is said and done, until you have smooth kernels in the granary, right? But prior to that, you can still snack, right? So just like by Truma, you can snack prior to the smoothing of the kernels in the granary. So to our Damarin, looking out Tivol Dvar Torah, be the rice, so you could snack a Trumas Meiser before you take before you take the Trumas Meiser off of it. However, here it's a rabbinic takone that if you took off the meiser when it was still in the shibolin, if you took off the meiser when it was still in the stalks and gave it to a Levi improperly, Chazal came in and fined you with this little fine that you're not allowed to snack on it any longer. Okay? You're making a face. Yeah. It's fine? Okay. Next parak. Any Torah in a Torah, Torah. One is not allowed to take truma from that which is Torah and that which is Torah. And this is only truma gedolah. Only truma gedolah. Why is this whole takana? It's a gzeira. Because we're not allowed to take truma except mina mukaf. Now, there are those who hold that this is a doraisa, but most Rishonim hold this is a derabbanan. Midrabbanan, you must take truma from the crop where the crop is. Is that clear? In other words, the truma has to be in the same physical location as the crop upon which it's being tithed. That's the Rabbanan. In order to ensure that this Rabbanan is fulfilled, they made another Rabbanan. They said you can't take truma from Torah on Tomei. Now, even though it's to the coin's advantage, because the coin's going to get Torah, so the coin gets Tomei stuff, you can't do anything with it. All you can do is burn it, right? You can't eat it, right? Yet nonetheless, Chazal, in order to ensure the inviolate nature of their takana of Mina Mukaf, they went a step further and said now that you can't take from a Torah al-Otome. Why? Because generally Torah al-Otome is not going to be Mina Mukaf, right? Because you don't want to put the Torah next to Tome. Because what's going to happen to the Torah then? It's going to get Tome, right? Okay? So ain't Torah Mina Torah Tome, being Torah Muchumas Truma. If you did it, b'diavad it works. B'amisamru, however, in truth they said, ha'igol shel dvelo shenitim miktsasa. There's an exception to the rule. If you have a cake of pressed dates, shenitma miktsasa, it's a fascinating thing. You have a cake of pressed dates. It's like 20 dates let's arbitrarily 20 dates pressed into a cake. So one on the north side on the east side becomes tummy. The ones on the west side still are Torah, because there's no integral connection between them. They're just pressed together. That doesn't make them one food. Right, they're still individual dates. That's right. You can separate them. So therefore, since that is the case, in this case, you can be torem, not Torah la tome. Why? Because you're taking, this is definitely mina mukaf. They're all pressed together. You'll take from the west side and that on the east side, and that's okay. All right? So this is an exception to the rule mentioned previously. Beats me. But here we have it. Okay? Yes. Yeah, we just had that on Sunday. Not the cake. Not on cakes. That was on Dvash Tmorim. And on the next case, where was another case where you had chopped up dates, but they still retained some of the character. I forget. First case, you're thinking about the Gemara and Brachos. We just had case in Mevorchim. So we had Dvash Tmorim Meiku Shackle, and the next case, you missed it. It was on Sunday's one. Dvash Tmorim Meiku Shackle, and the next case of the Gemara talking about chopped up dates, which you make hoitz. But this is even better, because it's not chopped, certainly not dvash, and not chopped. This is whole dates, just pressed into a cake. So here the bracha doesn't change at all. Okay? If you turn him on the Torah which is in it, I'll turn him if you have a bundle of vegetables. You turn him and so to a pile of grain. You're going to be Torah Minat Torah Latame. If there were 2 cakes, Shnei Agudos, 2 bunches, Shnei Aremos, 2 piles, Achas Torah v'Achas Meir, one of which is Tomei, and Torah, one of which is Tomei. In that case, you have the Takon of Chazal, Lo Yitrom Yizalzei, can't take Truma from one on the other. Because again, maybe inadvertently you'll place them in a manner that one will be matami the other, and their Rabbanan sustained their gzeira. Now Rabbi Lezer, he doesn't hold the whole takona. Rabbi Lezer holds Tormi minat Torah la Tomei. This whole takona of Rabbanan made, Rabbi Lezer does not agree with it. Okay? Says the Gemara. Go to the Gemara now. Amrei Yochim B'Shem Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yochim say name Rabbi Yanai. Where do we learn this out from? The Nechshar, this is again a smachtas, all smachtas. V'nechshav lachem trumaschem. Your truma will be considered to you kidogan mina geiren, like the grain from the silo, uchamlea mina yekev, and like the grape juice from the press. Ma yekev yevshar she'miktzas tame iktzas tar. If you have a grape juice just after you pressed it in a wine press, so then part of it's tummy, the whole thing is tummy. By liquids, there's no distinction. It's not like dates pressed into a cake. Part of it becomes tummy, the whole thing becomes tummy. So Chazal made they said, the same pasuk refers both to grain and to grape juice. I'll make a parallel here. How long are you staying? There's a Gemara over there. No, not the big thing. The small thing. If you come late, you get the small edition. It's okay. Where are you on Chesam Beis? Okay. In Terumos. Oh, did I bring the right volume? Is that volume Aleph? Yeah, it's all the way at the end. Okay. After the last Masechta. Yeah. Okay. No, that's volume 1 or volume 2? It's not in it? Doesn't have it? Oh. Okay, sorry. Brought the wrong volume. Okay. I'm right here with Shem Rabbi Yanai. V'nechshavlechem tzumaschem gedorgem miyagorim kolomim miyakev. Mayakev ivshar shem miktzasa tamei miktzasa tor. Just like by a grape press, you can't. I went back to the beginning of the morning. You can't have grape juice which is partially tamei and partially tor. Part of the grape juice comes tamei. The whole thing is tamei. Avdogim min hagoyrin. So too, they said, you know what? We're going to make a takon d'Rabbanan based on this pasuk. We're going to say, so too, that when you have a grain from the silo, lo yeh miktzasa tamei miktzasa tor. Don't have part of it tamei, part of it tar, and take truma from the tahar on the tamei. It's completely an asmachta. It's not really d'oraisa, because this pasuk really doesn't teach you that at all, right? But nonetheless, we're saying, when you're doing this, all your truma should be never half-half. Either tamei or tar. Don't take from tar on tamei. That's how we learn the pasuk, okay? Then you should know, and this is a case. Now it's amazing to what extent the Yerushalmi gives the weighty importance to an asmachta. Says Yerushalmi, and this is a case. Even though by a goren it's possible that part of it should be tamei and part of it tar, right? Because the wheats are not integrally connected. Nonetheless, l'meidim efshar, l'meidim efshar mishi efshar. We learn a case where it's possible to have half tamei from half tar, from a case, meaning the grape juice, where you can't have half tamei and half tar. The whole thing is either tamei or tar because of the nature of liquids. So it says more if that's the case. If that's the case, if one did take truma from tar and tamei, let it not work all together. But let's go that far. It says the Gemara, Mimenu truma Hashem ksiv. From it comes a truma. So meaning, again, taking that smachta to a very serious extent, we're saying that nonetheless, even if you didn't fulfill the halacha, but he took from it truma Hashem, it did work. Okay? Yes, it's a machlokas of the maiden Mefshir Rishon. I don't remember who it is, but it is a machlokas. Okay? Kol dvarim lemeidim u'lamdin. Normally, things, this is irony, normally, when we learn from A to B, so logically they should learn from B to A. Or, at the very least, if you learn from A to B, you should be able to learn from A to A itself. But here we don't. Here we learn from A to B, but not from A to A. How so? All things are learned and learned back. The ka here, however, Trumas Meiser im Lamedes. From Trumas Meiser we learn out Truma, Vein Lamedes, but we don't learn out Trumas Meiser itself. How so? Trumas Meiser Melamedes. This pasuk, this whole pasuk of Nechshav Lechem Trumas, which you just put down. Trumas Meiser Melamedes out Truma Gdol Sheni tells me Torah Latame. We learn from this that you can't take the Truma Gdol, the initial Truma, from Torah and Tame. However, Trumas Meiser itself, you need to tell us Mina Torah Latame. Trumas Meiser itself, we learned at the end of the previous parak, you can take Trumas Meiser from stuff which is Torah on stuff which is Tame. Minayin, how do we know this is true? Rabbi Yosef b'shem Rabbi Chizkiah and Rabbi Yonah b'shem Rabbi Yanai u'nesatem mimenu is Trumas Hashem la'aron HaKohen. You should give from it the Truma of God to Aaron HaKohen. I say, do it in a way sheyinosnu la'aron HaKohen b'kohano. Give it in a way that it will be given to Aaron HaKohen in a way that he can be able to use it when he's a Kohen. Meaning, that give him Truma which he can eat as a Kohen. What Truma can a Kohen eat? Only Truma Torah, right? So from this we learn this pasuk it says by Trumas Meiser. So you say Trumas Meiser, the overriding value is to give it specifically when it's tar. Why? Because it has to be this pasuk of give it to Aaron HaKohen is each has to be something which a Kohen can exercise the prerogative of Kohen as on and eat it. That's by Trumas Meiser. So therefore, we did is we took the pasuk of Nechshav Lechem Trumaschem Kidogim Minayekev, from which we learned that he can't be mitzvah Torah from Tahor and Tamei, which is written by Trumas Meiser. We said, well, that pasuk we use for Truma Gedolah. We'll move it over. Whereas Trumas Meiser itself, we use the pasuk which says La'aron HaKohen, and say it retains. It must be original. It must be that the Trumas Meiser you take is specifically Torah, and therefore Trumas Meiser you're allowed to take from Torah and Torah. Now, this is all. If we were dealing with real drashas d'oraisa, none of this would make any sense, because none of the clothing of drashas work here logically. Rather, we're dealing with the Rabbanan. Rabbanan made a takana. Truma Gedolah must be mina mukaf. Truma Gedolah has to be when you are there together with your crop. Trumas Meiser does not have to be when you are there with your crop. So therefore, Rabbanan then came after the fact and based the storm psukim and played cut and paste in order to make it work. What? With the crop. In other words, the truma has to be with the crop when you take the truma off it. But only the first truma which Yisrael gives to the Kohen, not the second truma which the Levi gives to the Kohen. Rav Kana said a different asmachta. Mikol chebo es mikdasho mimenu. From all the best, chelev here means the best. Take the holiest part of it. Tol min hamakudash shebo. Take from the best of it. Take from the holiest part. Excuse me. What does it mean from the holiest of it? Yeah. In this case, you should always take the best of whatever's there. Meaning, if it's Tameh, you don't take from somewhere else. You take the best Tameh. If it's Tar, you take the best Tar. But you don't take Minat Torah Tameh. So he's learning this pasuk. Mikol chabo es mikdasho mimenu. Tomin hamakudash shebo. Means take the best you can possibly get, but within. And therefore he holds that even by Trumas, you have to, even by Trumas Meiser, this pasuk, it seems that he holds even by Trumas Meiser, that you take specifically from whatever's there and not Minat Torah Tameh. So it seems he's wrong in the previous Gemara. Previous Gemara said by Trumas Meiser, you do take Minat Torah Tameh. He says no, always mimenu, whatever's the best there, don't take from something else, meaning from Torah Tameh. Now, I have the four words here, which you don't have probably. Utrumas Meiser Zu, these words by Trumas Meiser Melamedes teach us our Truma Gedolah, that also Truma Gedolah, she tells Mina Mukaf must be taken Mina Mukaf. In other words, you always take from whatever's around. Now, I also have a bracket, so I don't know if you have the brackets. K'dichsiv mimenu Mina Mukaf. Because it says from it, and that teaches us Mina Mukaf, from that which is there. Oh, wait a minute. No, he is saying this is only by Truma Gedolah. I apologize. I don't know. He is saying it's only Truma Gedolah. The same I was saying before. Truma Gedolah is learned that has to be Mina Mukaf, but Trumas Meiser not. And v'him Trumas Meiser itself nitel shalom min amukov. Trumas Meiser is not even taken min amukov. Minayin, how we know this is true. The Tanya we learn minayin Trumas Meiser nitel shalom min amukov. In other words, you can have your Meiser in New York and take off Trumas Meiser on it in Chicago. How we know that's true? Shinamar, it says Torimu. It says take up mikol masro seichem, from anything your Meiser. Meaning, even if the Meiser is in Yehuda and the Trumas Meiser you want to make on it is in Golil, that's good enough. Again, we learn out Truma Gedoyla from Trumas Meiser has to be mimenu, has to be internal, has to be that the Truma is in the same place as the crop, but that's only by Truma Gedoyla. By Trumas Meiser, we don't say that. By the way, I don't know if the Gemara ever explains later on why the dichotomy. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's not clear to me why Chazal made the Gzeir Truma Gedoyla min Amukov that has to be in the same place but Trumas Meiser not. My hunch is that Truma Gedoyla, we want to make sure it's min Amukov in order to make sure, since any Yisrael takes off Truma Gedoyla, right? So therefore we want to make sure that it's done properly, so therefore we make him do it in a way that it pertains directly to the grain. Because otherwise, he might mess up. In other words, he's taking Truma Gedoyla in New York on stuff in Chicago, so that can lead to all sorts of mix-ups. But a Levi is already considered mistama to be on a higher madrega, especially because you're only supposed to give your meiser to a Levi. So Gemara says in several places, both Bav and Yerushalmi, not supposed to give your manas kuna to Amaratzim. You're only supposed to give it to Talmidei Chachamim. So Levi mistama knows how to do it right. So therefore, we didn't make this gezeira on him not to be Torah specifically min Amukov. It's just a hunch. I don't know if it's true, but it sounds good, right? These are all smachtas, and there's no differences, right? You just saw the whole concept Yerushalmi is saying is that any of these smachtas are found by Trumas Meiser, and we extrapolate from that to Truma Gedoyla and leave Trumas Meiser alone. So no, the psukim themselves have no indication. Okay. Trumas Meiser limda of Truma Gedoyla. Trumas Meiser is from Trumas Meiser we extrapolate to Truma Gedoyla. Shaloteini tells Elamina Gomor that both of them can only be taken properly from that which is already completely processed. Vafir, and it tells us in the Megomer, and here too we say Trumas Meiser also can only be taken from that which is completely processed. Here, this is a Doraisa already. This is a Doraisa and applies therefore equally to both. And learn out because it says Kidagon mina goren. Dagon means that which is already completely processed. We're thrashed, winnowed, all those things. So therefore we say that applies both to both. Tanya we learned. Trumas Meiser nitelis mina tor ala tor. Trumas Meiser is taken from that which is tor, that which is tor. Mina tami ala tami, that which is tami, and that which is tor may. Umina tor ala tor may. It goes to be taken unlike Truma Gedoyla from Torah on Tomei, right? Truma Gedoyla we don't allow that. Trumas Meiser we do. However, be that as it may, and he tell us mina Tomei ala Torah. You can't take from Tomei on Torah. That you can't do. Even by Trumas Meiser, you can't take from Tomei on Torah because that's ripping off the Kohen because he's going to get Truma Tmeah where the crop itself wasn't Tomei. That is vile, reprehensible, and we do not allow that. Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Kishem Shein, and he tells me that Tomei al Torah, and Nechemia says it's reflexive, just like you cannot take from Tomei al Torah, Kach Ein, and he tells me, it's not reflexive. Sorry. It's just like you can't take from Tomei al Torah, Kach Ein, it tells me that Tomei al Tomei. You can't take from Tomei al Tomei. In other words, by Trumas Meiser, once we let you take away Shalom and Amukov, so we said, we dafka want you to take from Torah on Tomei. Don't even take Tomei on Tomei. Make sure the Kohen gets to eat it. So specifically, you give Torah on Tomei, not Tomei on Tomei. Okay? Where does Rabbi Nechemia concede the point by Tmai? Rabbi Nechemia concedes by Tmai that Tmai you can take Tomei, mina Tomei. What's Tmai? Who remembers? Yeah. Suffolk what? What definitely was taken off? Truma Gedoyla was definitely taken off. Meiser was not definitely taken off. So the Trumas Meiser is a subsidiary category of the Demai, right? Because that's part of the Suffolk, right? So when you're taking up Trumas Meiser of Demai, there Rabbi Nechemia concedes you're allowed to take Tomei al Tomei, right? Because it's not definitely Truma. Because after all, maybe the Amorites did take off the Meiser. You just don't know. So therefore, when you're taking on mitzvah, you can take Tomei on Tomei. Now it says we're ad kedun. Until now, we see Rabbi Nechemia has stated Kshelo Meosamin, where you had that substance in tar. In other words, you had Tomei grapes and Torah grapes. So now Rabbi Nechemia said, you know what? Don't take from Tomei on Tomei. Take from Torah grapes and the Torah grapes. But what if Lo Meosamin? What if you didn't have any Torah grapes? According to Rabbi Nechemia, what do you do then? When you can't eat the whole thing? Or according to Rabbi Nechemia, in that case, can you take from Tomei and Tomei? Let's learn from the following case. Do you understand what the question is, Kasha? Understand, Dr. Spell, what he's asking? Let's learn from this case. Rabbi Chanina Antusaya, Rabbi Chanina from the city of Anasos. Solik Rabbi Zira went to Rabbi Zira Hamas Goder. It's another city in Eretz Yisrael. Zovin Le Kluskin, so he bought there olive cakes, pressed olives. Okay, I don't know how they made them, but they were pressed together. So he wanted to fix it to leave from today till tomorrow, meaning he had today the olive cakes for Torah, right? Now these olive cakes are chayiv and Terumos and Maasros, still Eretz Yisrael. So he wanted to keep, so he used these olive cakes and was Torah them. He wanted to leave over for tomorrow some of the Torah olive cakes, because he thought maybe tomorrow when I go to the store they won't have any Torah olive cakes. And I'll use today's, which are Torah, to take off Truma tomorrow. In other words, when I go for tomorrow's treat, so I'll take from today's leftovers and use that as Truma on tomorrow. So from here we see that he's held that I dafka have to take Torah. Amar Lei, so he said, we don't have to be worried about the Shita, Shitas Yochid, meaning the Shita of Rabbi Nechemia. Because we're matir that we're matir to take from Tomei and Tomei. In other words, tomorrow when you find Tomei, you'll take from Tomei and Tomei. So it says Gemara, Islach lemeimar kshaya lo meosamin. So I forgot what the proof is. Oh, right. In other words, tomorrow he doesn't have any Torah ones. Right. What do we see he's afraid of? He's afraid of that tomorrow he won't have any Torah ones, right? And therefore he's saving today's Torah for tomorrow. If Rabbi Nechemia allowed you when you had no Torah ones to take from Tomei and Tomei, so why did he bother saving it? In other words, we see that Rabbi Chanina Antusaya wanted to be chayshish for Rabbi Nechemia. Okay, so, but if even Rabbi Nechemia wanted to leave from today's Torah till tomorrow in order to take off from tomorrow from this Torah on the Tomei. So on that, that his friend Rabbi Zira said, you don't forget about Rabbi Nechemia. Nobody's concerned with Rabbi Nechemia. Don't bother saving it for tomorrow. So again, let's read it inside. Amar Lei, so he said, we don't have to be concerned with Rabbi Nechemia Shita. So can you say this talking about where tomorrow he has from the Torah stuff? Obviously tomorrow he doesn't have from the Torah stuff. That's what he wants to save for tomorrow, right? We see clearly that when you don't have the other from the same type Torah stuff, you're up the creek, and that's what we want to save from today till tomorrow. Okay, Be'emes Amru, truth they said, do you have that header? Do you have Be'emes Amru? Okay, so it should be Be'emes Amru Ha'igel V'chule. And this goes back to our Mishnah. It said in our Mishnah that you can take in a pressed cake, you take from one side and the other side. So it says more, Amr Ablezer Kol Makom Sheshanidu Be'emes, any place where it says Be'emes Halacha L'Moshe B'Sinai. Now the truth is, in this case, it's not really Halacha L'Moshe B'Sinai, because the whole problem is the Rabbanan problem. So either Kavanoki says that it means that anything which is chlor, via halacha l'moshe b'sinai, anything which is absolutely certain, like halacha l'moshe b'sinai, there they say be'emes amru. But not that it means that it's literally halacha l'moshe b'sinai, but something which is absolutely clear beyond the shadow of a doubt. That's what it means to say. Could be that means there's no machlokas, right? That would be it. No, something which is no uncertainty about means there's no machlokas. That could be. Okay, the eagle showed velo shima miktzah. So now let's talk about the case. The eagle showed velo shima miktzah. Ain't kulot tamei. Wait a minute. Why don't the whole cake of pressed dates become tamei? It's moist. Let the moisture cause the tumah to travel from one side to the other, because moisture transmits to the tumah. As mar b'mechuber and meiperosi masnisa. Yeah, but what depends on kind of the moisture. Not all moisture transmits tumah. It's got to be one of the 7 beverages. And meiperos, meaning the juice from the date itself is not going to make a tumah. Now it's interesting because honey does. It would be dvash, it would. But you have to say the moisture which was there was just, zeah, not dvash. Okay, that it had, yeah. Dvash is going, what? Machshir. Right, dvash is going to be machshir. So you have to say it was just moisture and not dvash. Okay. Alright. What? Okay, so in the Mishnah. Okay. Today went fast. Yeah. Okay, says the Gemara. The ain't selfily chok laso so shnayim. Ask the Gemara. Wait a minute. How is this mina mukaf? You're going to divide it up. You're going to separate it. You're going to. I'm not sure if that's the question. I'm not sure that's the question. Yeah, it is the question. Okay, the question is vein sofo lichoiva so shnayim. Is it when you take out the truma? Aren't you going to separate? You're going to what's the word? You're going to break off. You're going to break off a piece to make that the truma. So that by definition is not mina mukaf. It's a funny question. Right, it's got a physical possibility of having mina mukaf. Yeah, that's why it's a funny kind of question. I don't really understand Gemara's question, and the Gemara's answer is even worse. Gemara doesn't say, but that's still mina mukaf. The Gemara says, "Tipata shekar lo shem mechubar." You designate it while it's still connected, and then you separate it. So I guess no, but that. So what? And if you had it right next to each other, it's not mina mukaf. It's a funny question. I didn't even realize it. The Gemara, do you understand why the Gemara's answer is funny? The Gemara is assuming that mina mukaf means when they're literally pressed together. It's not good enough that they're right next to each other. Vicinity, proximity does you no good. It's got to be literally connected. Yeah. If you break it, it breaks the entity. It's still difficult. It's a big chiddush what you're saying. They're attached together. Yeah. So when you pull them apart, they're separate, but still it should be considered mina mukaf. I don't know. It's a little bit strange. Yeah, maybe you're right. I guess you have to say that. I guess you have to say what you're saying. Alright, v'chein aguda shel yerek. Do you have that header? Okay, v'chein aguda shel yerek. So, masnisa shenit meisvod aguda. Our mission is talking about where it became tamei, well, it was still a bundle. Avol nit meis kulachin. Let's say each stalk became tamei, and then agdon. You took 5 tamei stalks and 2 Torah stalks and bundled them together. Lobada. That's not an aguda. In that case, you can't take minat Torah or tamei. In that case, you created the bundle after something became tamei. That's not permitted. When you had a bundle, some of which became tamei, then you can take minat Torah or tamei. The Takana Chazal doesn't apply, but not where you made a bundle after some of them were tamei and some of them were Torah. Okay. And now here's the one that's the same question. They're going to be separated. So how's this mina mukaf? There's more tipatish kol Hashem mechubar. You designated the truma while they were still bundled together. Okay? Says more further. Eged shenitma, an eged which became tamei, together when it was still bundled. Vitiro. Then you loosened it. Then you changed your mind. Ogdo, you bundled it again. Mao. What's its status? Can you take minat Torah tamei where you rebundled it, but it got tamei? Part of it became tamei when it was still originally bundled. And of course, one doesn't answer. Next, now the Gemara goes into a tzrichusa. Explain why we need all the cases in our Mishnah. For lisnei iguvelo lisnei aguda, why do you have to mention all three cases? Let's just mention the press dates and don't mention the bundle. For lisnei aguda, just mention the bundle. V'lo lisnei rema, don't mention the pile. Ilutin and iguvelo lisnei aguda were just to mention the press dates and not to mention the bundle. Having amina, we would have said igul shekulo guf echot teret. By a cake where they're all pressed together into one unit, then it can be torn from one on the other, from the east side on the west side, or vice versa. But by a bundle where they're not already pressed together, so maybe there I can't take shumer from Torah and Tomei. Maybe there the Rabbat Takor the Rabbanan does apply. That's how you have to mention Naguda. Would mention the bundle and not to mention the pile. However, would have said Aguda Shakulas Fisachas by a bundle where they're all bound together. Their Torah, they can take me to Torah told me. But our Rema Shakulas Fisachas, but by a pile where they're not all one unit. Ain't a Torah. Maybe you can't take truma from a Torah Latame. Have a tzurcha misnei agul. That's why I have to mention the pressed cake. The tzurcha misnei aguda. I mentioned the bundle. The tzurcha misnei agul. Raymond also mentioned the pile. Okay. Now we came on the Tzninon. Once, however, we learned in our Mishnah. Shoyu shnei agulim v'shtei agudos shtei Raymond, that if there are two cakes or two bundles or two piles, in that case, Hakon Rabbanan kicks in and you can't be mafresh from Torah Tamei. So Ma'u Tzurcha L'Haidam Rabbi Yechanan B'Shem Rabbi Yanai. What do you need asmachta, which we brought down a name from Rabbi Yechanan named Rabbi Yanai, V'nechshav Lachem Trumaschem, that Nechshav Lachem Trumaschem V'kedog Min HaGarim V'chulei. The pasuk which teaches us that you have to do it, they have to all be together, just like wine, where they're all together, it all becomes something together. So to the Goren has to be unified Goren, either completely Torah or completely Tomei. That's an amazing question the Gemara asks. It's an amazing question. The Gemara is asking, what do I need the asmachta if I have the Mishnah? So Rabbi Yochanan made asmachta from the pasuk. So what do I need asmachta for having pasuk? Now it's strange. So what? What do you care that we made asmachta? What does it hurt you we made an asmachta? I really don't understand the Gemara's question. But it bothers the Gemara that once I have a Mishnah, I don't need an asmachta. Rabbi Yochanan didn't have to put in his own 2 cents. That's what the Gemara is asking. By the way, this is almost explicitly against the Ritva and Rosh Hashanah. It's a famous yeshivish Ritva and Rosh Hashanah, which every bacher knows. Not every bacher, right? Some people know. Which says that all asmachtas are the Ratzon HaTorah, but it's just Hashem didn't give it the validity of a Doraisa. So Ritva and Rosh Hashanah says that the asmachta is a drasha, but a lower level drasha. In other words, something which the rabbis are supposed to find, but without giving the Torah level of severity. So here you see not that way. Because here the one is asking, why do I need this asmachta? I got a Mishnah. Stop me, don't hack me a training with asmachtas. Right? So you say, the asmachta would be like the Ratzon HaTorah, it's just on a lower level, that of course we want to make as many asmachtas as possible. But the Yerushalmi is not learning now. That way, the Yerushalmi is learning we should be parsimonious to make the asmachtas when not necessary. Very interesting. Rabbi Chib said, I might have thought that maybe our Mishnah, which says it should be Torah Minat Torah Tamei, is where you have a pile of pumpkins or of squash, where the Trumas D'Rabbanan, right? Trumas D'Rabbanan. So there, since it's whole Trumas D'Rabbanan, so what? Don't take me like Torah Tamei. But so even take Minat Tamei. But where the Trumas D'Oraisa, like grain, maybe I would say by grain. Since it's Trumas D'Oraisa, maybe I'd say no. Do take Minat Torah Tamei, because there's an overriding value to make sure that the Trumas Torah, because it's talking about Trumas D'Oraisa. So that's why Rabbi Yochanan had to come along and say no. Even by Trumas D'Oraisa, even by Goyren, we make the same Gzeir the Rabbanon. We say, don't take Minat Torah Tamei. Better to fulfill the value of Minat Mukaf and take Minat Tamei than to take Minat Torah Tamei Shalom Minat Mukaf. Okay, that's what Rabbi Yochanan was adding. If there were 2 pressed cakes, Echad Miktsas Tamei V'Echad Miktsas Tor, and one of them was each one was part Tamei and part Tor. Now, normally you can't take from one pressed cake on the other. But here they're both tummy and tar, right? So from each one you could take, they both have tummy, so tar. So each one you could take from the tar part and the tummy part. So can me go that I could have taken from cake number 1 and cake number 1? Can I take from cake number 1 and cake number 2, and from cake number 2 and cake number 1? You got the question? Can I mix and match here? I can take truma in this case from one on the other. Let it be like this case. State carry it. You had in front of you 2 piles of grain. From which you took, from one you took up part of the trumas meiser, but not all of them. Also part, not all of them. Maushi trumizal, that can take truma from one on each other, from one on the other, because they're both partially done and partially not done. Or do I say no? Because if I let you do from one on the other, so you might come to take, eventually you might come to make a mistake and take mina chayav ala potter. Here they're both part chayav and both part potter. If I let you do it here, you might come to slip and do it in the case you're taking from chayav al potter or potter al chayav. So Talmoidai, the Rabbi Chia Rabbah, the Talmid of Rabbi Chia the Great, shown Rabbi Chia Rabbah, they asked Rabbi Chia the Great. He said to him, he said, Aksil Choyvek is Yodav. The fool folds his arms, V'oichlos B'sara, and eats his flesh. Meaning you guys were lazy, you didn't learn what I said about this, and therefore you don't know the answer. You should have been more diligent in listening to my shiurim. Because there was one Talmud who listened. That's Rabbi Lezer. The Lezer said, "B'shem Rabbi Chia Rabbi said, name Rabbi Chia the Great, ain't torminu ma'aser mizelzeh." Even though both of them are partially chayav and partially potter, you can't turn from one and the other lest you mix it up in the future. And so, to in our case, even though both are partially tamei and partially tor, you can't be turned from one and the other lest you get messed up in the future. Tanya, we learned. You had halacha out of left field. It's completely irrelevant to argument previously. You had, well, it's not completely irrelevant. It's also kasamina mukaf. Let's say you had a lot of stuff in one basket. Cabbage on top, and cabbage on the bottom. So in the middle you had parsnip. You can't take truma and meiser from the top cabbage and the bottom cabbage, even though they're the same basket, because they're shlomin amukaf. Why are they shlomin amukaf? Because there's parsnip in the middle. However, that's only if there's no holes between the parsnips through which the cabbages can see each other. But if there are holes in the parsnips through which the cabbages can see each other, in that case it's fine. Doesn't say that here though. Okay? Tiny, because all they're abundant, so they're makel. It's not, normally you need a tefach al tefach, right? Not here. Tiny, we learn, kol beis hagronos echadu. What's min amukov? The entire silo was threshing house. Now, I'm not sure it's an actual house. Threshing floor. The entire threshing floor is considered to be one min amukov. However, there's parameters here. There are 5 piles of grain in the threshing floor. You take truma from one and all. Okay? Did I lose the place? Do you have the place? Which chunk is that? Oh, it says Gitos there? It doesn't say Beis Hagranos till later on by you? So it has also Beis Hagitos there, not just Beis Hagranos. So he took out Beis Hagitos. Okay, I don't know why he took that out, but he just goes straight to Beis Hagranos. So that you have Kol Beis Hagranos Echadu, all. Okay. Kate said, "How so? You chamisha tzivurim b'garim. There are 5 piles in the silo. Tarim echad kol. You take truma from one on all of them." Tanya, no, we're skipping all around.
Yeah, I think we skip to the last line.
No, we didn't. Oh, I read here. It's fine. Kol beis hagitos echad. All the wine pressing area is 1. All the grain threshing area is one. Tiny Rabbi Yehuda says has to be that in the middle there's a connection by the grain. In other words, that there's grain in the middle, and all the surrounding circles are connected by the grain in the middle. The grain in the middle doesn't have to be wheat though. Afilu kasha, afilu teven, even if it's hay or straw, that's good enough to connect all of them. But there must be some connection in the middle. Rabbi Chagai Bui Komi Rabbi Yossi Haya Tamei Baim. So what if in the middle there was grain, but it was Tamei? Amalei, so he said, I don't know, what do you think that's a connection? Einachanami, that's not a connection. It has to be tar, grain in the middle, connecting all the circles of grain or piles of grain all around. Chavraya Bun Komi Rabbi Yossi, the friends asked the friend Rabbi Yossi, so what if the grain in the middle was covered with a sheet? Is it still a connection? Amalei, so he said, of course it is. It's like five sacks in a silo. When the 5 sacks in a silo, as long as there's some connection, you'll be turning a meiser from each other. So the fact that they're covered in sacks, as long as they're piled next to each other, that's sufficient. Rabbi Lezer says you take. Oh, you don't have that header, right? We're going to what? Oh, you do? Oh, no, you don't have the header though. I have Rabbi Lezer Matzah. Be that's me. Tanya Rabbi Loi b'Shem Me'omer Mishum Rabbi Eliezer. Tormi minat Torah or Tomei Balak. You can take truma from Tahor and Tomei, even by moist. Now, it's not, Rabbi Eliezer argues in our Mishnah, not just where it's dry, but even when it's moist. What does it mean by that? Kavach Ketzan. It's a fascinating case. Kavach Zaysim Mituma. You have a whole bunch of Tomei Zaysim in your oil press. They're all Tomei. You want to take truma of them betara. Ketzan will say, how do you do that? Maybe mashbech, you bring a funnel. Shein bepiv kibetza, which has a mouth which is less than a betza wide. Now truma is only transmitted through food the size of a betza. Truma is only transmitted through food the size of a betza. You fill the whole funnel full of olives. You put it on top of the pitcher, or on top of the container which is holding your tamei olives. There, now everything in the funnel does not become tamei, because there's nothing to transmit the tuma up to the funnel, except for that one olive which is in the mouth of the funnel. And that one olive is less than a kibetza in width, right? So therefore it doesn't transmit the tuma. So how much of your truma becomes tamei in this case? In other words, the truma is the stuff in the funnel, and it's touching on the bottom the tamei stuff in the press. How much of your stuff is touching? 1 olive. That 1 olive of the truma becomes tamei, the rest of the truma remains tar. Okay? Now, the Gemara asks, so why do you need such a narrow funnel? Anyway, wait a minute. What's the difference? Each olive is less than a betza, so what difference does it make? There's nothing to transmit the tuma up, because you need to have a food stuff the size of a betza to transmit the tuma up. So who cares if the hole is wider? It doesn't make a difference to us. So it says Gemara, Shloi tamu zeisim harbe. The reason why you mean it, because each olive which touches the tamei olives down there is going to become tamei. So therefore, you make it as narrow as possible in order not to make in order to try and avoid making in order to make as few zaysim as possible tamei. We'll stop here for the series. It's the proper brachas benching. We said you can compact benching. That's okay. Here we have to know what the right bracha achrona is. We don't know what the right bracha achrona is. Now, in my stender over there, there's an NCS White Brachas book. Now you raise my curiosity. Maybe we should look up puff wheat. It was actually homemade by one of the people in the shul.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Puff wheat mizonos. It doesn't say the bracha achrona is in this book, but I assume that the bracha achrona then is, according to according to the Ritbaz, the whole shiur of the Yerushalmi is based on the assumption that on Kloyas the bracha Rishona is Hadama. And therefore the shiur is what bracha Achrona is to make. So I guess if we hold that the bracha Rishona is Mizonos, then we would hold logically the bracha Achrona is definitely Al Michya Val Karkol. Okay, says where Ma'alatzkva Meimara. What's on the topic of Mein Sholosh? When we say a bracha Mein Sholosh, do we mention what the day it is? Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh. Do we mention that in Rav Michya? On Rabbi Yava Barzimna, Rabbi Zira Ha'ayam Maskeba Mein Amora. Rabbi Zira would mention Mein Amora in Al Michya. Rabbi Yava said, Rabbi Yemya. However, Chasha Rabbi Zira, since Rabbi Zira would include the what day it was in Al Michya, we have to do so as well, and in fact we do so. Tani, we learned we make a bracha on the best piece of bread we can get. Kuskin, if it's a good piece of bread, ushlema, and it's whole. Kuskin, ushlema shabal bais. If you have a choice between a very good piece of bread from a bakery or a whole piece of bread but it's from a balabas, which is not as good, oimer al kuskin, you make it on the this is where both are whole. So therefore, if you have a kluskin ushleim shabal bais, you have a whole piece of bread from the bakery and a whole piece of bread from a homemade, you make on the bakery bread. That's obvious. Al kluskin, however, if al kluskin if you have a sliced bakery bread versus a whole loaf from a balbas, you say on the shlema because whole takes precedence over bakery. Even though the bakery bread is better, nonetheless the whole piece of bread is better to make a motziah. Paschid and pastor, if you have a choice between wheat bread and barley bread, Omer shel chitim means to make the motziah on the wheat bread. Prusa shel chitim. What if the wheat bread is sliced? Ushlemish term, and the barley bread is whole. Omer al prusa shel chitim. There, the difference is so great that it's better to make the bracha on the sliced wheat bread than on the whole barley bread. Pasori and pas kusmin. If you have a choice between barley bread and kusmin, I believe is spelt. Omer al shel seorin. You say on barley because it's better. Ask him, wait. Spelt is bread, or spelt is a type of wheat. So it's better than barley. It's more chashuv. Yes, says Yerushalmi. However, El Shuzumi Shiva means Shiva. Sorim is one of the Shiva Saminim Shebohem Nishtab Chleretz Yisrael. So therefore, that's better to make a bracha, despite the fact that it's a lesser grain, because it's more significant because it's one of the Shiva Saminim, as opposed to spelt the Zuenim means Shiva. Rabbi Yaakov Baracha b'Shem Rabbi Zira said the Rabbi Yehuda. This is what Rabbi Yehuda said. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Mish Menem means Shiva." One of the Shiva Sminim, Olel Mvarach, make the bracha on it. Pas Meo Pas Torah. One of the pieces of bread is tummy and one is Torah. Omar Torah. He said he make a bracha on Torah. Pas Nikia. One of them is fine flour. The kid's male, but it's tummy. Upas Kibor. You have coarse flour, but it's Torah. Rabbi Chia Barado said, "B'Shem Rabbi Yaakov, Alez Mem Shiva D'Yotze Varach Tosaf." You make the bracha in either one you want. Kaira, on bark from a palm tree. Rabbi Yaakov Racho says, "B'Shem Rishmuel, Omer Lo Bar Preitz." It also comes from a tree. Tana Rabbi Chalaftim and Shol says, however, Shakol Niebid Varo, because it's not the fruit of the tree. We make a shakol and stuff like that. If you had a cinnamon stick, since it's bark, you make a shakol, not a bar preitz. Okay? Better check. Once I have the book here, I might as well check. What? So if you're eating a cinnamon stick, it doesn't even... No, he has here Adama. Whoops. Oh well. According to Yerushalmi, it seems it would be shakol. Tani we learned, Rabbi Shua says, Bori Minei Deshoy. He said, Kederach Yerushalmi, let's make a new bracha on it. Blessed are the types of the grasses. Like a grass. Masnisa, the Rabbi Yeshua Pligi Love, the Bryce of Rabbi Yeshua argues over it, says, Ve'elamini Adushoyim, what are the types of grasses? only kunres v'chalima v'adamur v'atod, not including the palm tree. So according to him, the palm tree would not get bari minei deshoim. It would either get a shackle or eight, but not this new bracha bari minei deshoim. Okay, birech apiras elon. If you made a bracha on, what time is it now? Is it 9:15 yet? 2 minutes. Birech apiras elon bari priyadama. Not meaning it anyway. Birech apiras elon bari priyadama. If you made a bracha on fruit, bari priyadama, yotzam. But you have it in yotzi, of course. Apiras adar bari priyadama. If on that which grows on the ground made a bari priyadama, lo yotzi were yotzi. V'akulam imam shakol yotza. And all of them he said shakol you yotzi. Rabbi Kitzka b'shem Rabbi Yaakov Baracha said Rabbi Yehuda. He wanted to say Amish is like Rabbi Yehuda. Aviga Seilonis Kikashim. He says trees are like the trees. Even if they're no longer attached to the ground, they have halacha as being attached to the ground. In other words, cut trees have the halacha as being part of the ground. Where does this manifest itself in the halacha bikurim? The shaila is if you can bring bikurim, if you don't own the land, you only own the trees. So Rabbi Yehuda said, despite the fact you only own the trees, it's considered as if you own the land, and therefore you can make bikurim. You can say Hadama Shernasat Li Hashem, and therefore you can bring bikurim from those trees. So he says that trees, even though they're cut, they once had the halach of land, so they retain the halach of land. So that's why you can make Bar Priyadama on stuff which grows out of trees, because it has the halacha of the land itself. Says the Gemara, no. No, even if you only can't be bikurim if you only own the trees, because it's not called the Adama. Nonetheless, at some point the trees sprout out of the ground, Perisilim, the cloud Peris Adama. So therefore it's a subcategory of Adama, and not vice versa, Vein Peris Adama, cloud Peris Ace. Rav Huna said, Chutz mina yainu mina pas. You can make a Bari Priya Eitz on everything, except for wine and bread. Matnisa Amrakain, and the first mission in the parak taught us that chutz min hayayin, except for wine, shal yayin amari bari priya gofen, chutz min hapas shal pasu me'ar moitzi lech mirat. However, the Evan, if you made an eighth on either of these two, you're yotze, because they do come from the trees. Tan Rabbi Yosef Mer, kol mishana mi matbea, al matbea shetov v'chom le'etzidei chavaso. Rabbi Yosef said no. If you change it, in other words, Chazal said on bread on moitzi, or Chazal said on wine or gofen, or Chazal said on eight or eight, you're not yotze made a bar priyadama. He argues on our Mishnah. Lo yotze de chavaso. Rabbi Yehuda said not only that, kosher nishtana bi brioso, anything which changes nature again, like bar priyagofen, it changed from grapes to wine. And lo shina brichoso, you didn't change the bracha to accommodate that change. Lo yotze or yotze. Rameir Omer, afilu Omer, Rameir says no. Afilu Omer baruch shebara chaypetz hazeh. Again, Yerushalmi at work. You say, blessed is God who created this object. Manoah was there. Well, wondrous it is. Yotze. It's also a good bracha. It's interesting, Rameir is the one who says by Gittin, kol mishana mi matbea shetovu chachamim begittin havlad mamzer. He's so machmir. Comes to brachas, it's okay. As long as you approximate a bracha, you're okay. And along these lines, right, says the Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov Bracha said b'shem Shmuel lo krei meir. Approximate brachas are okay. Milsa's Rav Amar, we heard this from what Rav said. What did Rav say? Chat parsli asu l'gabe Rav. A certain Persian Jew came in front of Rav. Begin da'ana, he said, when I eat my bread, I eat my bread, I don't know the right brachas. I don't think he didn't speak in Yiddish. I don't know what brachas to make. So I say, Baruch the Bara Hadein Pasa. Blessed is God who made this bread. You know, the rubber dub, thank God for the grub. So he makes a bracha like that, right? So, Navigana Yidei Chavasi, do I am I yotze my chiyuv or not? Amalei in. He said yes. You yotze chiyuv if you make a bracha like that. So what? It's not a machshava. You have to say something. But as long as you say something which thanks God for the food, that's sufficient. All right, this is a good stopping point. We'll stop here. Everybody should have a chag kosher v'sameach. The first Wednesday after Pesach, we can get together here again at 8 o'clock, which is Yisru Chag.
How about when you go for a
Mosai
banquet and have those little pieces of bread?